Well, here we are once again, another Thursday, another AEW Dynamite review here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Hello, it's me, Mr. Warren Hayes. Hope you are having a lovely week so far, and hope you enjoyed last night's AEW Dynamite. Full disclosure, as you know, I typically record these on the day after, right? I record these on the Thursday. This is still going on the Thursday, but I'm actually recording this a few minutes after Dynamite because I have a very busy schedule on Thursday, so I will not be able to record it at any appropriate time. So I decided, look, I'll be a little more in instant reaction mode tonight, a little bit on, the post-show vibe, as opposed to, what I usually like to do, which is sleep on it, wake up the next morning. And so, but thankfully, I should say this instead of, thankfully, there's nothing here on this edition of Dynamite which would awaken my ire to the degree where, I feel like I need to get some distance. No, I thought this was a good episode of Dynamite. Overall, I thought it was fine. We're a far cry from the terrific collision that happened this past Saturday, and I think last week's Dynamite was better than this one, but it wasn't the pits. We've seen some real miserable Dynamites, over the summer and early fall. So this was fine. It was good. I think there was a lot to like here. There's a couple of things that happened and a couple of decisions that were made that have me scratching my head, but. All right, we'll move on and, we'll see what happens, right? As Alexa Bliss once told us, let's let it play out, folks, before we jump to any terrible conclusions here. But listen, like this video if you're watching this on YouTube right now, youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes, or if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, a 5-star review, 5-star rating, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that jazz helps out a great deal. But we're going to get into it. This Dynamite that happened on December 20th, 2023 at the Paycom Center in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Guess who was there? You probably know, you've watched it. I mean, you couldn't have a Dynamite in Oklahoma without JR showing up, right? I mean, if we're being honest. But 4,488 tickets distributed according to WrestleTix. A big uptake from the past couple of other shows that Dynamite has run recently. So, not a bad, considering everything, not a bad gate. Everything had been set up for 5,296. Look, we're gonna get until the end of the year. The Dynamites are going to give us some respectable gates. When I say the Dynamites, I'm saying the Dynamite. The one next week, which is where is it? No, I'm sorry, I got confused here. That's not it at all. This is right here. Now, see, it's going to stay in the same range. 3,377 distributed for the Dynamite in Orlando next week, and World's End, the pay-per-view is still at 7,726. So it might rise. I mean, it's still it's a good number. Their pay-per-views have been doing better than this recently, though. And they've been doing better numbers than this. Look, I mean, again, we shouldn't be sitting around saying that this is the greatest thing ever. We shouldn't be patting them on the, I don't think anyone's patting themselves on the back. But look, like I said at the Collision review this past Saturday, at this point, I don't have any extra analysis to bring. I don't have anything to say except the usual typical stuff. And I am not getting into it today. If you want to hear the ticket price rant, again, I did it this past Saturday on the Collision review, so you can go check that out. But as it stands right now, we're going to get into breaking down the last night of league action for the Gold League in the Continental Classic. This is what we've been doing over the past few reviews over the course of the Continental Classic. We start off by breaking down the tournament, the matches that happen, talking about the standings and whatnot. And look, we've got ourselves a situation. We have ourselves a semifinal. We'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about the matches before we do anything else. Show opened up, cold open, straight into Swerve's entrance theme. A tremendous way to kick things off as Swerve Strickland defeated Roosh to score 12 points and get himself up all the way there. So of course, big strings of offense by both guys in this one, but the story here was Roosh's leg. He was favoring it for the vast majority of the match, and Swerve was not necessarily taking advantage of it, but he wasn't like ultra focusing on the leg, but it did play a part in Roosh's loss here. Still, Roosh is striking. He, holding his own. He does a straight jacket pile driver and a belly to belly swerve off of the apron, which was tremendous. And Swerve fights back. He lands the 450. Roosh kicks out at 1. Then Swerve hits a brainbuster, the house call, and the Swerve stomp for the win. And I thought this was great. I gave this 4 stars flat. I thought it was a very good, tremendous, great opener. Just got me excited. And finished off this Swerve's trajectory perfectly here. This was a tremendous, tremendous win and a great showing by Swerve once again. And it's interesting because commentary was saying that Roosh still had a chance, and I'm like, no, he did not still have a chance. He did not have a chance here. Like he was very much soft eliminated with his 6 points. He really would have needed Swerve and Jay. He would have needed to beat Swerve, which would have brought him up to 9, and for Jay White to lose, which would have brought him up to 9 as well. Like, yeah, he was very much soft eliminated from this tournament here. There was the scenarios in which he could have won were very we were stretching it here. But he got kicked out. And that sort of set the tone as well for the main event, where it's like, listen, you've been listening to me for weeks. I really didn't think they were going to do any wackadoo finishes, but they decided to do one. You'll say, oh, it's not that big of a wackadoo, Warren. It's just it's just a triangle match. It's no big deal. Yeah, but at the same time, for a tournament like this, it's a bit of a... Anyway, I'm already getting ahead of myself. You can already see me coming here. Anyway, great match. Was a lot of fun. I thought Roosh's tournament was pretty good. Then a little later on in the evening, in fact, right after this match, we got the fight for points, the fight for pride. Mark Briscoe defeated Jay Lethal, and I'm not sure these guys realized that they were eliminated. They worked really hard in this match. Like, they gave it their all. I have it right here in my notes. It's like, did they know that they were eliminated? Because they sure weren't wrestling like a couple of guys who were eliminated. This match rocked. It recalled their history, and Mark Briscoe played the hits in this one. And the big hook in this match was that Mark Briscoe was trying to get a chair. He was trying to get chairs in the ring, right? He was trying to get some chairs thrown into the ring. And the referee would always toss it out, right? And I think this happened mostly in picture, but when you were seeing it, it was actually kind of, it was funny. It was some good heat, and the crowd was into it until finally Mark tosses a chair into the ring. And Paul Turner's like, all right, what the fuck do you think? To do a tope off of it, to the delight of the crowd, right? The crowd was up on their feet. Great crowd, by the way. in Oklahoma City. That was a tremendous crowd they had there. So he's doing that, and anyway, that was a lot of fun. Jay Lethal lands a J driller, and everyone's sort of like, no, you can't do that. You could feel it, like you could feel the energy. It was like, oh no, that is a faux pas, Mr. Lethal. You cannot do that. But Mark fought back, landed the cutthroat driver and the J driller to get the win and score his 3 points of the tournament. So Jay Lethal finishes with the goose egg on this one. I thought this was very good. 3 3/4 stars. I thought this was a tremendous match. And then the main event, where we saw Jay White defeat Jon Moxley. Now they trotted out JR for this one. Good. Look, here's the thing. And I want to make, JR, if JR has health issues and he's fighting back and he's able to come back to work, like, good, right? You don't wish ill health on people. I don't think that's, regardless of what I think of the quality of JR's work in 2023, I'm happy that he's feeling better. I'm happy he was feeling better to be able to come into his hometown and in front of his home crowd and call a match. That means he's doing better, and that's good. And that honestly makes me happy. But I did not miss JR on on commentary. Don't miss his comedy either. I didn't miss him at all. I can't sit here with a straight face and tell you, boy, Willikers, gee whiz, what cutting insights JR delivered. Boy, oh boy, was he... I was like, okay. But the duality is there nonetheless. Like, I can be happy that he's back, as a human, as a person. Then I'm like, oh, okay, we're still doing this. I don't know. Nothing to take away from the prime of his career. He is one of the most historical voices in pro wrestling. He's the voice of an entire generation of wrestling fans. He's tremendous. His legacy is huge. Don't get me wrong here. Just, not what he used to be. Anyway, to the match now. I thought this was very, very, very solid. Well plotted, well done. A great main event. I thought this was absolutely tremendous. Mox dominated Jay White for the good majority of the match until White started to go into his bag of tricks, right? Started pulling out his his little sneaky cerebral tactics, started working the legs, dragging screws and whatnot. And Mox fights back. He lands a cutter. Jay White fights back with a sleeper suplex, a uranagi, a kiwi crusher. Then he lands another sleeper suplex. Mox kicks out, retaliates with a lariat, and lands another one. Stomp by Mox. Shades of freaking here. We get to the 15-minute mark. Jon Moxley sets White up for a Death Rider. White lands on his feet and goes right into a Blade Runner, which connects legitimately out of nowhere, just like the most spontaneous thing. And I'm sitting there slack-jawed. Jay White wins, and we have the three-way unbreakable tie, which I was convinced they were going to avoid, because just keep it fucking simple. I have quibbles. With this decision. And there's multiple quibbles I have. You want to hear them? Of course you do. Of course you do. Quibble number one. It's the first time you're doing the round robin tournament, right? It's been difficult enough, it would seem, for wrestling fans, not used to watching the G1 Climax or round robin tournaments out of Japan. It seems that for the majority of them, it was really, really difficult to wrap their heads around the scoring system, right? Where we were telling them the winner and the runner-up are gonna fight. Why would you in your first tournament, from the outset, why would you make this just a little more unnecessarily complicated than what it should be. Just come out and do the Occam's razor vision. Just go for the simplest way. Bam, bam, 2 guys and finish it off, right? I think from a standpoint of your viewership, people like me go, oh, they're doing it. Gato never does this. That was my first thought. It's like, oh, Gato would never, But for the majority of people who we've been talking to, look, I've had people in my DMs. I've had people on Blue Sky where we're all talking about it and how does this work? And they're asking me questions and I'm trying to help, and I'm helping them through it. And now we end up with this scenario here where it's like, man, you really could have just kept it super simple for the first year out the gate, right? Could have been just one-on. And so that's quibble number 1. Quibble number 2, I don't like triple threats, 3-ways, triangle matches, call them whatever. I'm not a fan, especially when there's real stakes like this. When there's something like legitimate. I know there's not really a championship here, but still nonetheless, just build 2 guys. Just build 2 and go ahead, and you don't need to muddy the waters. Like, I'm not excited for Will Ospreay, Jon Moxley, and Dave Finlay at Wrestle Kingdom. Like, no one wanted that. I didn't want a triangle match for the semifinals of the first league of the first year of the C2. Just build 2 people, build 2 guys, let them do their thing. Why are we doing this? It's like, it's kind of nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. And you know what it kind of, and especially when you consider that this was a tournament built to say, look, there's not going to be any shenanigans here. Everyone is banned from ringside. There's no bullshit. You want to watch pro wrestling? Then here it is. It's one-on-one. It's called down the middle, and you're like, this is fantastic. But the semifinals are not representative of what we saw everywhere else. Now we're skewing the rules. We're just doing we're conceding to the wackadoo situation here, as I like to call them. You really could have had Swerve win against Rouge and Jay White drop it at the end, and it would have been dramatic and great. And then we go next week into Mox versus Swerve. And that's my third quibble. It's coming up. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't think this was necessary, and I think I'll tell you what this reminded me of. It reminded me of in 2019 when WWE brought back the King of the Ring. You remember this? And everyone was really excited about it. And you had the single elimination brackets, of course. And then we got to a quarterfinal bout between Samoa Joe and Ricochet, and the finish was wonky and planned wonky. It wasn't like accidental. It was planned to be wonky so that the semifinals would be a 3-way with Baron Corbin. And I'm like, what are we doing? And I was legitimately unnerved by it because I think everyone was excited for the King of the Ring tournament to come back. And if memory serves me correctly, it was a pretty fun tournament. It wasn't anything that blew your mind, but Baron Corbin had a really good showing in that tournament. And then everything went downhill after he won. So I'm like, why are we doing this? This is single elimination brackets. Why are we doing a 3-way in the midst of a tournament? It doesn't make sense. Now here, I can already hear the arguments. Warren, it's not the same. This is points. This is a scenario that's possible. Whereas in a single elimination tournament, it doesn't make sense. Okay, sure. But what I'm saying is that in a booking situation, when you as Tony Khan are saying, I'm booking this tournament as, for the purists, for the people to get really excited about it, who get really excited about it, will cheer for it. Why would you throw this into the mix? Why in booking your tournament would you say, yeah, I'm going to finish one of the blocks with a 3-way, right? And then the other argument that I'm already hearing, which again, it's like, but Warren, what was he supposed to do? Otherwise, we would have got Swerve and Moxley again, and did we really want to see that again? All he had to do, he being Tony Khan, was do Gold League winner versus Blue League runner-up and Blue winner versus Gold runner-up. And you're not repeating the matches. Like, there's so many scenarios to avoid. If this was booked as a three-way, so as to not repeat a match from within the league, there was another way to do it. So it's not that this is suddenly that, oh, well, Tony decided this, so it has to be this way. He could have decided something else and do something different than this if he wanted to avoid Mox versus Swerve fighting again so soon in a one-on-one, which is kind of worrying me in regards to what they're going to do on the blue side now. But anyway, we're not talking about Blue League, we're talking about Gold League. Here's my third quibble. And this is what fascinates me the most in regards to, especially to the people who are saying, well, we this way we're avoiding a rematch of Swerve versus Mox. I want the Swerve Mox rematch. Don't you remember what happened a couple of weeks ago? Mox fucked Swerve over for the win. Like, he screwed him over. He held the tights, shoulders were up. It was a bullshit finish. And you can go back and listen to all of my audio whenever I talked about this afterwards. I was like, they're setting up the perfect scenario then for a rematch between Swerve and Mox to win the block and move on to the finals, because Mox had to be underhanded. He had to cheat to win, essentially. So they have the perfect setup to move into a fresh match with Swerve here. Can Swerve do it this time? Will Mox have to, will Swerve be ready for Mox's underhanded tactics? Blah, blah, blah. Like, the story writes itself. It was fine. I would have had zero problems going into next week with Mox and Swerve fighting again, because the finish was not definitive, because there wasn't a clear-cut winner, because Mox had to be a coward. He had to use the coward's way out to win. And he himself, he was on the mat and was emoting into the camera and flipping people off. And Swerve was like, motherfucker. And then what do you do in the build-up to this? Yeah, the guy's cutting promos, saying, Mox, you came this close. I came this close to beating you, Mox, and Mox saying, you're not ready for this. And then you have Swerve go over in a proper match. There's no shenanigans. There's no fucking nonsense. Or you can add some nonsense in there to set up the rubber match down the road. Is it just me? Do I see things just maybe a little too simply? Because I think that this is a little too convoluted for something that could have been so simple and so compelling. The simplicity in this would have been so extremely compelling because you had compelling wrestlers involved in this angle. And then it's something you can stretch beyond the C2. If you had just kept it to these two guys but look, clearly not. Yeah. Look, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. And I'm not sitting here, shaking the camera, and telling you, oh, the feeling's been lost again. I had my rant on the worst Dynamite of all time just about a month ago at this point. I broke it down. I broke down. Not for that. It's just, look, I'm not angry. I'm disappointed. I'm a little disappointed with this result. Is the match going to be great? Probably. The guys who are involved are way too fucking talented. They're top tier, world-class professional wrestlers. All three of them. It's not going to suck. I would have just liked another type of result for this, and not have to feel like we're falling into, for lack of a better term, North American booking patterns where, we got to get wacky. Here's the big swerve. It's a three-way tie. I know the three-way tie was possible. What I'm saying is that it could have been avoided. It could have been avoided, and we could have had just the straight-up tournament. But no, we have to get a little wacky, get a little crazy here. And in the first year, I don't know. And I fully expect next week to sit my ass down here and open up this microphone and tell you, hey, that three-way for the Gold League, tremendous stuff. Was the greatest match, blah, blah, blah. I'm fully expecting that. I think, both are possible. I can be disappointed with how it's being booked, but I can still be excited at the prospect of this match. I'm not excited at the prospect of that. Let me rephrase that. I can still enjoy the match, despite me being a little bummed out about it. How about that? So, where does that leave us? Final standings for the Gold League: Jon Moxley, Swerve Strickland, and Jay White, all at 12 points, 4-1-0 apiece. Roosh finishes 2-3-0 at 6 points. Mark Briscoe, 1 victory, 4 losses with 3 points. And Jay Lethal rounding up the bottom with 5 losses. So that's where we're at. So next week, the finals, as I've been ranting about, are set. As for the Blue League, we're not going to get into the big, we're not going to break down the Blue League. Listen, if you want previews about the Blue League, listen to the Mr. Warren Hayes show. It released yesterday on Wednesday. So you can listen to that. I break down the Continental Classic, give the old update. We'll be heading into to the Continental Classic this Saturday and Sunday, Christmas Day. I will have the review and we'll break down the last night of Blue League, which is going to consist of Bryan Danielson versus Claudio Castagnoli, Eddie Kingston versus Daniel Garcia, and Andrade El Idolo versus Brody King versus Daniel Garcia. Excuse me, I see King and I see the Mad King in my head, so I apologize. So it's Brody King and Daniel Garcia and Andrade El Idolo versus Eddie Kingston. If anything, my prediction I told all of you that Blue League seems to be the block that you need to keep an eye on. That's the most exciting. That's going to have the greatest match. I think, if anything, I was right on that. I was right on that one. So that's where we're at for the Continental Classic. Let's break down the rest of the show. Here. As we said, the show opened up with Roosh versus Swerve. Then we get a preview of the Blue League. So, we're getting all the Continental Classic stuff out of the way. We go to commercial. We come back. Chris Jericho is there. He cuts a promo backstage. He's talking about, he gives the update for, the majority of the population who is not on X, formerly Twitter, and who maybe didn't hear that Kenny Omega was hospitalized with diverticulitis. Again, I can't emphasize enough how shitty of an injury that is. Well, or a condition. It's not an injury. Sorry about it. That was the bad choice of words. But diverticulitis is terrible, and I can only imagine the pain he was in. He'll be out of it. So basically, Jericho says what we already knew: he's hospitalized. He'll be out indefinitely, and that will affect the Golden Jets' tag title opportunity at World's End. They're still going to decide what they're going to do with that. But in the meantime, he was basically saying, Kenny, come back soon, get well soon. We're excited to see you back. Wishing him good health. Got the crowd into it. Nice little wholesome moment there from Chris Jericho. Then we get MJF, who was some footage from his induction into the National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. Something that live viewers of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, those of you who join us at 7 p.m. every Tuesday night on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes for the live recording of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, viewers who were there a couple of weeks ago knew this when MJF popped into the chat and told us, hey, don't tell anyone, but he was going to receive the honor, and we were all very thrilled for him. Look, this is a reason why you should join us live on one of the live recordings of the podcast, because you never know who's going to pop in. Clearly. So we already knew about this, but it's still a great honor for MJF congratulations to him. There was one other pro wrestler inducted into this, into the National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. When William Goldberg, finally, we have a proper pro wrestler. Finally, a proper pro wrestler is in the Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Max. Then we get some a vignette thing with Wardlow. It's more of the same from Wardlow these days. Is it me, or is Wardlow sort of turning into Karrion Kross, or is that just me? Samoa Joe. We go, and in the meantime, we had the Briscoe Lethal match as well. Forgot to mention that. Samoa Joe then hits the ring, and he's out there seeking answers once again. He says, he says, I've been asking the right questions, but to the wrong people. So, he's fed up with the devil, calls MJF out, who comes out, and he says, he's like, Joe, are you accusing me of being the devil? And Joe outright says, yes, correct. And then MJF sort of deflects and says, well, last week, a couple of weeks ago, the Putties came out and they didn't attack you. They laid me out, but they didn't lay a finger on you. So you tell me, pal. And they're throwing accusations around. And then all of a sudden, some of the Putties attack. And there's a lot of them. John Silver tweeted out, oh, that's what happened to the rest of the Dark Order goons, right? Yeah. Using the Putties comparison now is absolutely on point. There was like a dozen of them. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of that. You remember the segment when Wardlow was in his push and they had Wardlow fight 20 guys at once. Remember that shit or something? You remember that? And it was terrible. You remember how terrible? This was kind of bad too. The Putties were dispatched really easy. And I understand they're Putties. That's what you're supposed to do. The Putties aren't supposed to put up a fight. And they're just supposed to be bodies being thrown around. That's fine. I'm not saying suddenly, the Putties are pulling out, fucking Canadian destroyers and Fosbury flops and so on and so forth. That's not what I'm talking about. But, Anyway, and then the lights go off, and then there's words that appear on the Tonytron. The devil appears, his face, right, on the Tonytron. And then, let me get my notes here. I wrote this down. Words appear on the screen. Where did you go, Max? Who can you trust? Will you accept the challenge for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship next week? Are you a hero, Max? And so basically, the devil is sending out some of his minions to challenge MJF for the tag titles, the Ring of Honor tag titles, and Samoa Joe accepts on behalf of MJF. So we're getting the Adam Cole proxy, which is Samoa Joe. They're getting that proxy once again to defend the title. Look, I'm pretty sure you already know what I thought about this segment. I don't know. They did some devil stuff last week, but I felt like it was very well balanced. Now it was a little more heavy-handed. I just want something to happen in this fucking storyline. I just want something to happen. And people throwing accusations right and left, that's not stuff happening. Now I want something to happen. Hopefully next week something will. All signs point to the devil being revealed at World's End, and I am so excited because I want all of this to advance and move on. I want a full story beat here. I want a next chapter. I want something else. I want the brochacho thing to move. I want it to be Adam Cole so we can just move on with our lives here. And by the way, I talked about it on the podcast last night, but in case you didn't catch it, I think you should. I think it was a good show last night. When I say last night, I mean Tuesday, which was last night because I'm recording this on Wednesday. Move along, Warren. Get out of your head. We talked about MJF's, contract status where he was out there saying, I haven't signed on January 1st. My thing is up, we'll see what happens. World's End, I have to. Now, listen. This is an exciting, wacky time in pro wrestling right now. So, a couple of years ago, we were all sitting around with the Cody rumors and we're like, Cody's not leaving AEW. Next thing you know, he's gone. We're like, holy shit. That was, big news. That was still a tremendous get to this day. So I think it's irresponsible to just sit here and go, MJF's not going to WWE, because I agree with Cody Rhodes in the interview that he did. One day MJF will be in WWE. And you know what? And it's not even a thing where I'm like, I want him on AEW. I feel like I'm one of the last guys who still likes MJF. I don't know. I think he's misguided on some things, but overall, I think he has so much upside, and he's a tremendous wrestler. He's a tremendous performer. It would make me sad if he went to WWE and I never see him again because I don't watch the thing. Where was I going with it? So yeah, okay. So it's not a question of he's going to go in good riddance. No, it's just like he should go and spread his wings and try out Stamford for a while. Go up north, as they used to say, and try that out. He should. And I think he will one day. Is he going to do this in 2024 when his quote unquote contract is up? I don't buy it that his contract is up. I sincerely don't. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not going to happen. It's impossible. MJF is AEW for life. None of that. It has nothing to, but right now, like with everything that I know and have learned about pro wrestling over the years the decades that I've been watching this, the amount of push and creative control and bad choice of words, but creative freedom that he has, the push that he has, the TV time that he has. You don't do that to a guy. You don't give all of that to a guy who is a flight risk. People got mad when Carl Anderson left for WWE while being the fucking never open weight champion in New Japan, right? So imagine if Max does that. Sure, it's possible, but and look, Tony Khan has had such a weird year when it comes to booking decisions and establishing his authority and whatnot. It's been a weird year for him. I would say that, I'm not 100% convinced that Tony is giving MJF all of this while being locked down in a contract. But conventional wisdom would tell you, when you're a promoter, you do not book a guy as your top guy and give him all of this power if he's going to leave mid-push. Because his push is not ending at World's End. At World's End, we're getting a reveal. Listen, try to wrap this into your lizard brains. How could you reveal the big villain at World's End, let's say, and then the next day MJF is like, yeah, I'm on a train to Stamford. How could you do that? MJF would be dragging down with him like a dozen guys involved in this angle. Like, none of it makes sense that he's not locked down. I have maintained on this podcast that he is clearly working with the bidding war of 2024, which he should. It's fine. It's none of our fucking business. But people who are convinced that he's leaving are ignoring the biggest facts that are right in front of them. He's super pushed. He's in the midst of a gigantic angle that involves, clearly like almost a dozen guys. And if he disappears on January 1st, AEW is left holding the bag. Now, if that happens, this is entirely on Tony Khan. And then we can sit around and talk about how Tony Khan doesn't know how to manage a wrestling promotion. Then we can have a serious conversation about that. But until that happens, I'm telling you, trust me when I say this, none of this makes sense. None of him saying, I'm not re-signed, makes sense. None of it does. The brochacho stuff has been booked into spring, folks. There's plans for this right into spring. They would have revealed the devil thing. They would have done something else. Even if he loses the title, which is, I think there's a contingent of people who are expecting / hoping that to happen, depending on where you fall on the fence, on what side of the fence. If you fall on the fence, that kind of hurts. But if you fall, anyway. There's people expecting him to drop the title. And I don't think him dropping the title at World's End will be an indication that he's leaving the territory. I really don't. And he might play this up. I think this is going to be part of the angle. What if it is Adam Cole and he decides to play this into the bidding war of 2024 and he's like, look, man, this place, AEW, has become toxic to me. I have no friends. Maybe I should go somewhere else, kind of thing, CM Punk tore the locker room apart. Shout out Jesse Collins. CM Punk tore the locker room apart. I have no friends. The man who said was my best friend betrayed me. Maybe I should leave, right? We're not done with MJF. I'm saying this again under the caveat that it's pro wrestling and it's hard to be, I would not be surprised. I'd be surprised, but also not surprised if he did leave because of all the reasons that I stated. But it wouldn't be out of the realm of the imagination to think about it. It's just, if I'm looking at the facts, if I'm looking at what is in front of us, huge push, world champion, main event angle involving a bunch of people. It's a whodunit. It's a long-term story. They still got more story to tell about this. He's not leaving. Not on January 1st. I think he's locked down for more years. It's just me. Let us know, Max. Let us know. All right, so that was that for this part of MJF's participation in the show. Renee Paquette is with the best friends backstage. They're chit-chatting. Rocky Romero says he just spent 329 days as the CMLL World Historic Welterweight Champion, and he's looking for new international possibilities. And Orange Cassidy says, okay, you got it, pal. Challenge me for the international title. There you go. Then we get the AEW Women's World Title #1 contendership match where Riho shockingly defeated Saraya. Tony Storm was on commentary on this. This was dull, folks. This is dull as dirt. I gave this 2.5 stars. What are we trying to squeeze out of Saraya at this point? What are we trying to do here? I don't know. I'm legitimately looking forward to Tony Storm, and I'm looking forward to Tony Storm and Riho. The minute that Tony Storm and Riho the minute Tony Storm stops doing, her comedy spots with the shoe and Luther and all that, and she focuses on fucking wrestling, it's going to be great. But if all it is shtick, and a lot of people like Timeless Tony, and honestly, it doesn't bother me half as much as it bothers a lot of people. I think it's cute. But I'm consistent on this. When the stories, when the angles start getting involved in, start affecting a match, right? When the characters and the larger than life stuff start affecting the match, that's when I start getting, that's when they take me out of the match. It's things that, oh no, you're supposed to be more invested if he's doing a monologue. No, I'm not. I'll be invested if he's beating the shit out of the other guy. That's why I'm watching wrestling. I'm not watching it for, for exposition. I understand, it's like the I Quit match this weekend at this Friday at Ring of Honor. I'll give you one more chance to quit. It's just like, put the fucking microphone in his mouth and tell, do you say I quit? Yes, no. I understand what's going on. Christ almighty. Anyway, so look, off base. Not off base, but we're on a sidebar again. Let's keep this rolling. Tony Schiavone has he reads a prepared statement from Christian Cage, which is the most Christian Cage thing possible, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm sitting in my living room. I have my dog up next to me. She's all cuddled up against me. I'm watching this on the TV. And Excalibur says, let me walk you through this. Excalibur says, well, we're going to throw it to our colleague, Tony Schiavone, who has a prepared statement he's going to read. Tony Schiavone has the microphone. Here in my hands, I have, wrestling fans, in my hands, I have a prepared statement written by Christian Cage. And I just sit there and I'm like, oh, bravo. He can't be bothered. He can't be bothered to pull out his iPhone, send in a little video. He says he's on vacation with Nick. And he says, I'm going to clear everything up next week. But he can't be bothered to send anything in. He types up an email or a Google Doc and he shares it with Schiavone. And it's like, oh, I print it out, read it off your phone. I don't give a fuck. But you're going to read this word for word, Schiavone, or else I'll slap the yellow off your teeth, he says. Even when he is not physically there, Christian Cage is the greatest. He's the GOAT. He says he'll be back on Collision this week to address everything that happened. I'm sure you all have questions. And, whatever. Adam Copeland and their challenge for the TNT title. Adam Copeland is going to win the title, isn't he? He's going to be the TNT title champion, right? Right? He expects nothing less than a hero's welcome, he also said. Christian Cage in his prepared statement. Just fantastic stuff. Then we go back to MJF, who's backstage with Samoa Joe, and they're, they're at odds. They're the odd couple, And he's walking down the locker room area, and he sees a mask laid out in front of the door of the Mogul Embassy, right? And, Max, come on, mother, you're smarter than this, right? It's like, and then he gets mad. He's like, oh, why is this mask in front of this door? It couldn't possibly have been planted there. No. He immediately thinks, oh, all the putties ran in here, and one guy dropped his mask going in and laid it out nice. Come on, Max. Anyway. Knocks on the door. Nana opens up, and eventually Swerve pops out. And we get an exchange that I really enjoyed. I thought it was really good. I thought they had some pretty good back and forth. Swerve he's becoming so solid on the mic, and they talk about their past. Everyone has a past in this company with each other, right? Strickland says, that MJF was the best chauffeur he ever had. And he also tells Max, oh, finally, I get to see you face to face because you've been ducking me since I entered the company here. I'm like, okay. Max says, there's, Swerve brings up the William Regal email story, and he says, while you're MJF, you do tryouts and I sign contracts. And he says, careful how you talk to me, because the last guy who talked to me sideways got hung over the rope with the top rope with the chain in front of 13,000 people. MJF asks him to pull out those hand-me-down Flava Flav grills out of his mouth when he's talking to him. I really enjoyed. And you're going to have to show respect. Like, some good old-fashioned alpha male dick measuring here, which I enjoyed. I enjoyed because both of these guys are good. We're connected with great promos here. And I think this is fairly divisive. Again, I think there's a tremendous amount of people who have MJF fatigue, which I understand. Don't get me wrong. I'm not experiencing it personally. Look, because when Max is able to deliver on stuff like this, there's a lot of things that I'm in a position to forget and move along from. Maybe the in-ring segment with the putties and Samoa Joe was a little awkward. And I look at this and I'm like, all right, everything's fine with the world. It's like everything's all right. You win some, you lose some. The vignettes of the brochacho stuff I really, really, really did not like. But I've always said, the minute that they do pre-tapes, the minute they start doing stuff in the ring, not pre-tapes, but backstage segments, live segments, the magic is there. It works. So in this case here, I'll tell you what I like the most out of this, and it's Swerve being added, I should say, into this solar system of people orbiting the AEW World Championship, right? We've been doing this for a couple of weeks, right? With we had Samoa Joe around the time with Jay White, remember that? And then you had Wardlow around, and then Adam Page gets back into the picture, and now we're adding Swerve here. So all people who have title aspirations, all people that you're, and especially in the case, let's say of, maybe Wardlow is the odd man out here in what I'm about to say. All people who have a substantial amount of credibility when it comes to being a world champion in this company in 2023/2024. So it's all stuff you see coming together and you're like, all right, and now we're throwing Swerve into this. So we're continuing to establish Swerve Strickland as a guy, as someone who should be considered as one of the players, one of the top guys of the company, a potential challenger to MJF. And I think this is something that maybe we're losing in the analysis because people are very blinded when it comes to MJF these days. I think this is another addition which is really significant and should not be poo-pooed away. If Swerve is having a promo off with the champion, that's significant and it's meaningful. And I think that's something that we should see as a positive and something that got me really excited because look, I'm on the Swerve train for this. For the World Championship. I'm on it. He's so good. Let's make it happen. Anyway, the thing ends with Nana telling Strickland that he forgot to talk to him about Collision last week and he closed the door. And then, if I'm not mistaken, the final match of the evening. Well, the final match that we're going to be talking about here, because the main event we already did, was Roderick Strong defeating Commander. Very good match, and I thought a great pairing. Look, Roderick Strong is probably as over as he ever has been, right? And because of the goofy gimmick and whatnot. But I mean, here's a guy where it's like, goofiness or not, the minute the bell rings, he becomes all fucking business, and he's tremendous. He's legitimately one of the greatest. He's such a tremendous pro wrestler and one of the best in North America and has been for years. That's the things. Like, he's been so good for so long. But this is really good. Commander is great. He did the rope walk moonsault. And Roderick Strong ended this with the greatest end of Heartache of all time. I was slack-jawed. I was like, what? Just threw Commander up in the air. He spun around. I felt like he was suspended there for like 2 seconds. Up in the, just the wildest end of Heartache. A great match. What did I score this? 3 3/4. That was fantastic. I thought it was really good. And after the match, well, Renee pops in to interview Roddy and he does his shtick, and then I suddenly lose interest. He's talking about how MJF is the devil, and I swear, World's End cannot, if they extend the devil bullshit past World's End, I think the stroke is going to kick in. The long-term storytelling. Warren getting the stroke, I think it's going to happen, folks. For my health, I hope they don't do it. But then it'll also quell any thoughts that MJF hasn't re-signed with the company as well. Right? Anywho, that is AEW Dynamite. Like I said, I thought this was overall a good show, because the wrestling was so incredibly solid in it, and the Continental Classic was again the linchpin of this show. Like it's been for Collision, both major shows on every week. The Continental Classic has been a linchpin of both programming blocks. So we'll see what happens moving forward here. As we go into the finals next week, we're going to have, of course, the Blue League. Final line of Blue League action there's so many possibilities there still. Excuse me. Lots of things that can happen. It's going to be a good one on Saturday. I hope you tune into that and tune into the review on Christmas Eve, which I will record for you on Sunday morning, per usual, to let you off into the holidays. But let's say, by any chance, you don't have, you can't quite pop in, you can't quite make it on Sunday, I'm going to take the opportunity right here to wish all of you a happy, happy holidays, happy Merry Christmas, happy holidays. Just in case we don't see each other, I hope you have a wonderful time and that you spend it in the best possible way for yourself, with people you love, family, friends, pets, whatever it is you can do to find to enjoy the holiday season. I hope it is yours. Like I said, we'll be back on Sunday and next Tuesday for the Mr. Warren Hayes Show proper. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today, and I will see you next time.